Hey everybody, today on Unfinished Business, we're going to be talking to a very good friend of mine and senior funding manager, Brian McAleer. Brian, welcome to Unfinished Business, our first podcast together. Thank you for coming in today.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Today I think we're going to talk about Cinderella stories and underdogs, right? Which I've always been one for underdogs, and so a few people that I get inspiration from childhood is, like, for me, is the Rocky Balboa story, obviously, for other people that grew up in Philly, and Muhammad Ali constantly, shocking the world. So that drew me a lot of inspiration to, pursue and push forward in life. And so I've always been one for rooting for the underdogs, right? Like a lot of people do. So I like to look at you as somewhat of an underdog story, and just wanted to talk to you a little bit about our journey, right? Brian has been with me on this finance journey. We met in like 2013 when we started our first company, and Brian came in with no experience as a cold caller and very quickly learned the business and worked his way up to the top. And he's been with us off and on from our first company that we worked at together to Amerifi when I started Amerifi in March of 2017, and through the acquisition with NAV in 2019, and now he's back with us again at QualiFi. So Brian has a very unique story, one of perseverance, one of never giving up, one of a true underdog Cinderella story in many ways. And we're just going to talk a little bit about Brian, where he was yesterday, a while back, and where he's at today, specifically with QualiFi. So Brian, welcome.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thanks for having me. A little camera shy here, so
It's totally fine. It's normal. I'm still learning to get my podcast wings together as well. But you are a true underdog story, and you've overcame a lot of hurdles and obstacles. And this month specifically, you drove about $50,000 in revenue yourself, which is just about a company record for QualiFi for a sales rep. We did have one other that had an amazing month as well this month that did a little bit better, but it's an amazing accomplishment. And you've been pretty much the most consistent over the last several months since you came on board after your initial ramp-up period. So, if you just want to talk a little bit about your story, what do you contribute your success to, and maybe, tell the people who are watching, maybe you have some words that could be helpful or beneficial. Just curious if you want to, how much you want to discuss and where you want to go with that.
yeah, absolutely. Typically, if you were to ask me to do this, I want to say a little over a year ago, I would have absolutely declined. But for obviously those who don't know, I've suffered from, addiction in my lifetime, especially within the past, I want to say 2 to 3 years. I've been a little rocky, and was just sort of trying to find my place, and, I'm going on, what's today's date, the 1st, so in about 10 more days, I'll have exactly 1 year clean.
First of all, congratulations. That is an amazing accomplishment, right? I know, personally, I've been obviously your leader for, since 2013, and we've been back and forth, and I am one for second chances because I truly try to help, and I truly believe in the underdog story, and each time that we did have these short runs together, you've like quickly rose to the top immediately. And then unfortunately there was a little bit of a hiccup, and so we, separated and parted ways for a little while. But every time, you reached back out, we basically just got started right up and picked up where we left off at with the best hopes of moving forward. As far as addiction, I think I can relate to addiction as much as anybody, not personally, but I've grown up in it, right? My parents, mother, father, and both sisters were addicted to heavy drugs, the worst you can possibly do, for 30 plus years. So I have the ultimate respect for, people like Brian who were in the depths of addiction and managed to persevere, rise themselves up, and make it back and fight through it and get clean and sober. So kudos to you. Congratulations. Almost a year in now. What's it feel like, man, from a year ago till today?
It's a major difference. I mean, to just be completely brutally honest, I mean, before, I was waking up hating every second about life. Couldn't string a day or let alone a week together of sobriety. Just a lot of unmanageability, a lot of inconsistencies. And just to put it in short, I just lost my way.
Were you, at any point, if you don't mind me asking, were you close to like just giving up and throwing a towel? And I can't even imagine, getting down to that point. What was it like? What goes through your head at that? Are you struggling with trying to get better, or once it goes down to that level, what's going through your head? What are you thinking?
Well, I mean, it's a good question, right? I mean, when you're in the depths of addiction, like full-blown addiction, you really don't have much going for you. So there, in turn, you have very low self-esteem, very low confidence, and, like I said, just to be honest, if I could have ended it on my own, I would have. It was just that, I just didn't have the guts to do so. So I don't want to get too in depth with it, you get, down the road too far with it. But
listen, you're sharing some very personal, information about yourself, and for you putting it out there, with the hopes that maybe your story can inspire someone or reach out to someone and touch someone that is down in the dumps today, that is struggling with the same kind of addiction. And just hearing your story might give them hope. And that's the purpose of why we're talking today, right? Is to try to lift someone up that may be suffering from the, same types of things that you suffered from and actually are overcoming and overcame. Not only just overcame to be like a survivor, but to reach through the tops of being a top performer here at the company. And we had, we talked about it on our last podcast. We had a rough patch between in 2023, between February, as you know, and August, and you came in right in the middle of that. And when we were struggling really bad, you were like the only one that started really killing it and rise to the top. You actually set the bar high for the rest of the team throughout that little dry patch that we had. So you were showing us what's possible. Again, we were going through a rough patch. We weren't doing great. We were down. Our sales were down maybe 20-30% some of those months. What do you contribute that to?
It's, well, the perseverance of getting through difficult situations, is only acquired by, prior experience or prior situations where, you had to battle back, and really the way you got to look at it is there really is no other option but up, right? So,
yeah.
When you're going through those hard times, it's all about mindset. There's a lot of it has to do with attitude. And, we talk about it all the time in here, head trash. I know prior, to, that portion where we weren't doing that well, specifically with QualiFi, what levels that I was able to achieve in this specific industry, right? So I was confident. I had that self-belief.
So the history of your previous successes, you knew what was possible.
Absolutely.
And you were just fighting through. You weren't even thinking of the hard times. You just knew what you were capable of. And from what we've seen, obviously, you had daily goals for yourself, and you didn't let up, whatever it was. You had a cookbook, like we call our success cookbook for success playbook. It seems like you really stuck to that plan, even in the first couple months when everything was really slow. You did push through and you basically made it happen for real.
Yeah, I mean, like as I said, we talk about all the time. It's almost like you just got to reverse engineer, your whole game plan, right? It's like you said, when things aren't going so great, you start to question yourself. What can I do better? What can I do different? What am I doing wrong? But one thing I've learned is if you always stick to the basics, you never have to go back to them.
That's right.
So
1% better rule.
Absolutely. So, just sticking to the basics, doing what I know best, doing what works for me, what has always worked for me, and never veering away from that game plan, I think, is that just, that's what eventually led up to, the current successes today. Not And all the time, it's not always going to be easy, right? You know, there's always going to be down months. But again, if you can just persevere through that, get rid of the head trash, and just keep pushing forward, you know, there's a lot of you know, ways to manage through that, to move on. And I think just starting off slow, building that momentum is the first step in doing so.
Interesting. So I think you started with us, what, in like April or May or March? When did you start with QualiFi again?
It was in May, I believe.
Okay, so in May, so we're probably 8 months in, 9 months in, you know, somewhere in that range. Could you even imagine the difference of when you first came in to where you are today, that like quick of a recovery and rapid ramp up, like you're like from where your life was 8 months ago prior to going in and getting clean to where it is today, just like to put it in perspective, right? In just 8 months, how different is your life today versus 10 months ago, 9 months ago?
Yeah, so just to be completely candid, it's a complete 180. I remember specifically right around this time last year, I was actually in a hospital bed, in a coma.
I remember we since closed up to you, and I think we played a little part in that and helping that out.
Jay stopped by, so things weren't really going so well for me at that time. But then, you know,
so you were hospitalized. That's how bad it got.
That's how bad it got. And then, you know, went through treatment, spent, you know, a few months in treatment, and then got out of treatment, went to recovery program. You know, things still weren't looking up there. And I remember giving you a call, almost like begging you, you know, I'll do anything to get back. I'll do anything to earn my seat. And, you know, I felt like that I was in some sort of debt to you just because of all the chances that you've given me in the past.
That means a lot. I just got the chills when you're saying that, and I appreciate that.
So when I remember talking to you and Jay, you know, and I said I will do whatever I have to do to earn my seat there every day.
What was different about this time than the last couple of times? Like, what did a buzzer go off in your head? Like, what really was the driving force that's keeping you sober today? Like, what was different this time than, because this has been a struggle for you for a long time now, since I've known you. Just curious.
Yeah, well, I mean, like they always say, like, every bottom has a bottom, right? But if I had to attribute it to one specific thing, it would definitely just be the gift of desperation. You know, the unmanageability, you know, knowing that this time around, the actualization that I was hospitalized from something that I was doing to myself, knowing that if I go out one more time, it might be my last.
Interesting. So it's that, you know, you try to put yourself in, you know, people that aren't using and never been in that situation. It's pretty, you know, it's pretty deep, right? And there's the whole world. There's so many struggles with families and people around the world. I don't think any family escapes some sort of addiction in their family, whether it be drugs, whether it be gambling, anything. There's millions of addictions. There's a lot of, I like to say every family has their shit, right? We kind of say that all the time, and it just seems like that's the norm, right? When you're looking on social media and everything looks perfect, I don't believe in perfect. I don't believe any person is perfect. I think no family is perfect, right? I think no one skates through life squeaky clean and just enjoys every day and never goes through any adversity. One thing that I've learned in my experiences is that people like yourself that endure and overcome, that go through the hardest of adversities, typically become like the best people in life and really learn to appreciate life and appreciate everything that life has to offer. They start appreciating people. They start appreciating relationships. They start really appreciating good people and want to surround themselves around good people. So yeah, I mean, it's really a remarkable story. And you didn't just come in here for a job. You came in here to get back on top, right?
Absolutely.
You talked about you want to be at the top with the best of the senior guys like Scott and Johnny Crawford. You know, what's that mean for you to just be right there at the top, going head to head with the best of the best that we've had for 10 years in a couple short months, no less?
Yeah, no, listen, it's definitely, you know, it's a very rewarding feeling, but at the same time, you know, you want to stay humble, right? You want to keep the gratitude that, you know, I had when I first initially came in, because the second that I start being ungrateful or I start taking things for granted is the second that everything's going to just slowly start to slip away. So, I mean, you still want to stay, regardless if you're having a great month this month, that doesn't mean that I can let up on the gas pedal and take it easy. Just, if anything, I want to double down and go twice as hard this month.
And I think that's the difference between, in our training, we have the saying of an at-leaster, right? Some guys can have a great month, or girls have a great month, make a good money, good income for the month, and then go on easy street and relax for a couple weeks or a month.
Yep.
Your attitude and your commitment to want to double down, that just speaks volume of yourself, and you have goals and you're trying to accomplish your goals, and how hard you're willing to work to actually make sure that they happen, not just leave it on Hope Island for the most part. Do you rely on faith at all? Like, did God play any role in your sobriety and your recovery? Do you put anything into God or religion just out of curiosity?
I do have a higher power. As of late, I've been getting a lot more spiritual per se. There's certain prayers that I revert back to when things aren't necessarily going that great. But it's funny. I remember this one time, when I first came back and started, I think, you remember it as well. It was my first day here and first coming back, right? And, I had a warrant out for a missed court date.
I forgot about that.
Something stupid.
Yeah.
And I was no more in the office for the first time in a year for an hour. And I was no more carted right back out.
I remember the constable came into the office and asked if Brian McAleer was here. And I said, yes. And they came in and carted you out. And, they were going to put you in handcuffs, but you walked out amicably, and as you should. And they had to resolve, what was the outcome? They had to resolve an old warrant from before?
Yeah, it was a missed court date, failure to appear. But the point that I'm getting at is I remember, when I was in that process of booking and, in the holding cell.
That could have easily threw your mind right back.
Absolutely.
I'm never going to shake this. What the hell do I got to do?
Or, why not just give up again?
Yeah.
And go back to where I was.
Easily did that.
And I remember, obviously you only get one phone call there. So I remember calling my sponsor. And, I explained to him exactly everything that happened. It's my first day back at work. This is the worst. I was no more there. I got arrested.
No, you were frustrated. You were pissed. I remember. You were aggravated.
And, he said something to me that, that really stuck with me. And I think about it all the time when I'm having, a difficult time or a difficult day. He's like, do you know the difference between a good day in sobriety and a great day in sobriety? And obviously, I was like, no, what? And he's like, a good day is, you wake up, go to work, come home, chill with your girl, watch a movie, eat good dinner.
Absolutely.
Go to bed.
Living the dream.
Wake up for work next day. That's a good day. A great day is what happened to you. You wake up, you go to work, you got arrested, now you're in jail for 7 days. You're going back home to nothing, essentially, having to start over again. But at the end of the day, you didn't pick up your news.
Wow. It just hit home, because I was wondering where you were going with that. Like, what's so great about getting locked up and thrown back in jail?
Yep.
And the fact that you're sober makes it a great day.
Yeah.
Incredible. I just got the chills just thinking about that.
Yeah. So, from that point forward, anytime, I'm facing a little adversity or I'm struggling a little bit,
it's a great day.
I just try to hold gratitude for what I do have. And as long as, at the end of the day, I lay my head to that pillow and I'm sober, it's a new day the next day and I can hit the reset button.
I love it, man. And in 7-8 short months, you're back on your own. You're looking to buy a house. Just went out and bought a nice Cadillac for yourself.
Yep.
You top in the sales charts with the best of the best. Life is good. Let's stay there, right? I really, you inspire me as a leader, and I look at you as a leader. I know you have the ability to manage a team, and obviously there's a lot more for you in the future with us, with QualiFi, with the company. We're looking to continue to grow and continue to touch people and continue to provide, world-class, amazing client experiences, one business owner at a time. Brian's a big part of that. Our whole team's a big part of that. Thank you for sharing your story. Very much appreciate. That's a very personal story, so we appreciate that. We hope that, if these words and your story inspires anyone to not pick up or to, make an attempt to get sober, that, in 6 short months, 7 short months, your whole life could change in 180, 360, like you mentioned. Just never give up, and that's pretty much all I got.
Yeah.
Any other final thoughts or comments before we conclude?
No, aside from, I appreciate again you having me on here, giving me the opportunity, and I'm confident that this upcoming year in 2024 is going to be a huge year.
So we just closed out our first month of the year with five guys funding. We did just shy of 5 million, which is a company record. Broke commission records, revenue records. Where do you see yourself for 2023? It's a big question. At 2024, right, Near? Thank you. So 2024, any goals? What are you thinking about? Where do you want to be at the end of, if we have this podcast next January 2025, where do you want to see yourself, and what are your thoughts on that? Did you set any targets for yourself?
There's a lot of personal goals I have, a lot of professional goals as well, but I would like to essentially see myself in a team lead position. Maybe managing a few guys under me, whatever that position may look like. But, like I said, as long as I can just, keep that sobriety first, everything else comes second, I'll be happy at the end of the year. Even if I'm in the same position I am now, as long as I still have that same mindset, same commitment, and, under you guys, I don't think I could ask for much more.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story. You've been an inspiration to me and Jay and the team. You're setting the bar high. You're making big things happen, and it's going to be a great year. Appreciate you sharing.
Thank you, man.